Hey YouTubers, I've got another motorbike I want to show you about. This particular one, it's been built for a few years, not real long, but it was a girl's bike. If you look right here, you can see where I cut this bar that did go down to that lug on the frame underneath that idler. That idler keeps the belt from flipping upside down. The back pulley is a BMX rim. Hang on a second, I'm going to wipe this camera lens. That might have made a little difference. I took these little metal tabs, bent the ears on each one of them so you could lock it down true to every spoke on one side. The motor is way offset to the right. Looks goofy, works great. Took a major dog leg in the crank to clear everything, but there again, like I said on the video about the Breen Taylor bike, it doesn't mess you up. It's not, the motor alone, if you were holding it under your arm, wouldn't keep you from riding the thing if you needed to get somewhere, so it's not that big of an obstacle sticking out to the side. Looks a little funny, but what the heck. I'm more into riding than I am worrying about the looks, which is why I never clean them up. I don't get the rust off. I get them functional, bulletproof, nothing falls off, nothing needs tightening. Once all the kinks are out, I'm good to go. There again, you can see my weld where I made it a boy's bike. And that piece of chrome that protects the exhaust, or protects your leg from the exhaust, which really your leg doesn't get in there, but I got tired of people saying, oh, doesn't that get hot on your leg? You'd have to be all choked up there to get your leg in that close. People just aren't made that way as a rule. It's uncomfortable. But that was a piece that went around the back of a seat, kind of a little guard of a thing, more for looks than anything. Some of these clamps are, God knows what they're off of, but I use them for everything. These edger motors and little bitty motors, some tiny tillers on Tecumsehs have the exhaust coming out the side of the engine. So that's why I've got this elbow mess on the exhaust instead of coming out up beside the carburetor like a regular go-kart motor. It's better to keep them from gas balling those. So even though it sticks out a little, no big deal. That is some old strap iron I used on that, or plumber's tape, whatever you want to call it, used for that gas linkage bracket. That's probably older than I am. I'm 64. Had to cut the gas tank bracket and scoot it way over to get the tank to clear the frame. The hinge device is off an edger, welded to what is now the top bar. But the cool thing is, at first glance, you might think that raises the idler, but it doesn't. The idlers are just to keep the belt from flipping. I didn't have a clutch, so I said, I'm ready to build this thing. So I just hinged the motor like my front wheel drive ones in the frame. When you come up to a stop, you flip that lever forward. You're ready to take off, you pull it back. So you can still have your hand on the twist grip. Loose, slipping in the BMX rim, tight, heading you on down the road. And that right there is evidence of my miscalculation. I didn't have a long enough piece of all thread. I wasn't closing the place down and go get one, so I just welded a little extra tab on it. Screw it. I've got all that stuff laying over there in a box, or in boxes. I'll be the man on the stick welder. You know, really, I can do some pretty decent welds, but I've got a certified welder friend that can walk circles around me. What else on it can I show you? Ain't a whole lot more to it. It hadn't ran in about 1.5 years since Quentin was the last one that rode it, and I was having a little issue with the belt. The belt is as centered up as you could want it. I mean, it goes dead straight up the path to the motor, but it was climbing up in the edge of the BMX rim. Let me see if I can get a shot of it. Just the light and the camera. So I took a grinder and ground the groove a little more square on the edges so the belt won't try to walk up the side. And that's also why this idler is down here, to kind of help lead it in and make it go whether it wants to or not. I'll get this light right here in a minute. Yeah, that idler there is just to funnel it in. Had to make a couple kinks in the fender to clear the belt. A little bit overkill on my motor braces. It hinges just like my front wheel drives do on the back edge of the motor. Made a couple belt guards one out of wire, one out of a 5/16 bolt. So the belt doesn't drag when you're sitting still. It's not eating on the one spot of the belt. It's a Schwinn Racer, they called it. Got oddball. Even though Schwinn rims take their own tire, this one even takes a different tire than the more common Schwinn tire. It's a hard one to come up with, and it takes like 60 pounds of air to get it to pop out on the rim, and I'm not putting that much in this dried out thing. So that's it. That's all I can show you. See you later.